gentlemen, my name is Tony Bilao Nyango. Welcome to Face with the Gen Z. So a round of applause because our Gen Zs are in the house. Yes, so across the continent, young people have been protesting, they have been voting, and they have been able to demand for accountability. And today we have got a very interesting topic. We are going to talk about democracy. Is it a blessing or a curse? Is it a good thing or a bad thing to Africans, for example? And we are going to take the case study of Kenya in particular. So first of all, we are going to start with the Gen Zs. We want to check and to understand what is the understanding of the Gen Zs about this democracy. So in just briefly, within a minute, I'm going to come from this other end. We'll start with Emmanuel and he'll tell us his understanding. And this is a show for the Gen Z, so msikwe na wasiwasi sawa? Yes, so whatever you say, we listen. We listen. Yes, so I know there's the textbook definition, lakini ile yenye unajua ndio tunataka kusikia leo, si ndio? So feel free, feel at home. Let us engage respectfully, and then we'll come later on to our panelists when they'll also be able to introduce themselves. Asanteni sana and welcome. Yes, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much, Tony. And of course, was it a must that I will be the first person to talk about? All right. My understanding of democracy is where people are given the power to choose, and the power belongs to the people and exercised by the people through the ballot. And of course, their leaders that they choose represent them. Okay. So that's what I understand about democracy. Of course, there is no universal definition of democracy, but different people have different meanings.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Let's move to the gentleman beside you. Please, you can also introduce yourself.
Mohamed Farah. From my definition of democracy is a system of government where citizens choose leaders, express their opinions freely, and yeah, that's all I
So
think.
for you, it's a matter of expression.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You can move to you, Jafar.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Jafar Hassan. I'm a businessman. I sell curtains and I'm computer science student at USIO. This is my first time to go on live. So according to me, democracy is a system of government where power belongs to the people.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is James Moruri. For me, democracy is the rule of the people, for the people, and by the people. It is a three-in-one context, in the sort of, if power is, or rather the rule, especially rule of the law, is for, by, and for the people.
Okay.
But basically, it's democracy.
Asante.
Thank you.
Let's move to the lady in front of you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Cheryl, spelled or pronounced with the R. When you pronounce the R when you roll back your tongue. So my understanding of democracy is a system of governance where leaders are elected through the electoral process by the people to represent them in making decisions on higher levels.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Odiwar Faith Hachung, a second-year law student from the University of Nairobi. And according to me, with my definition of democracy, I must not fail to mention 1992, when we started, when democracy came into existence. And I also feel like when we're talking about democracy, we're talking from a point of rights, from a point of devolution, from a point of freedom, So to me, I feel like democracy is all about having the voice.
Thank you.
To speak. Thank you.
Having the voice.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yegon?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Yegon Meshak, a now fourth-year law student at Chuka University. So my understanding of democracy, of course, there is a theoretical explanation given by Abraham Lincoln, the former president for the US, and there is also the constitutional definition given by Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, that all sovereign power belongs to the people. And that is the definition that my constitutional law lecturer, Mr. Alan Odur, usually emphasizes, that democracy basically is giving power to the people. So that is the definition I will go with.
Asante. Thank you so much.
Yes, greetings. My name is Sharon. What I understand about democracy is democracy at its core, it's giving dignity to the people, and giving them a voice and all the power. But I would also compare democracy to freedom. Imagine giving freedom to a young girl, a teenage young girl. So that's how Kenya and even most African countries, that's how they were when they were given democracy. It didn't serve them. It was like giving freedom to a very, very young girl who is not mature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Candy?
Kandi Obunga, democracy for me is giving power to the people, but also I understand it as a system that is supposed to work for the benefit of the people. And when we talk about Kenya, I think there's a lot that we need to understand in terms of, is it a system that is working for us, or is it a system that is working against us? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Candy. And I think you've moved us to the second part of this discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been able to hear what the Gen Zs think about democracy. If you're watching us for the first time, please do make sure to subscribe. We are live on Odoyo Widi's Facebook page. We are also live on YouTube on Red Ring TV. Yes, now moving on to this side of the discussion and to our panelists, I'll give you a minute to introduce yourselves. You've listened to what the Gen Zs have said, and also maybe just comments around what they have shared. We'll start with Ms. Joan.
Good afternoon, Gen Z. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm grateful to just listen to you, and all of you are right in terms of what democracy means. It means that you're allowed space to express yourself. Democracy is a very wide word, and what is democratic for you may not be democratic for someone else. What works for you as democratic may not be democracy to another person. And for me, I think that in itself, being able for us to coexist in an environment and to have different views about an issue, about an agenda, about how we need to, to coexist, for me is democracy. So we do not have to agree that all of us need to follow one file, for that to be democracy. One's man poison may be another's food. And that's why we're here to discuss. Let's understand what democracy is. For me, the fact that we are independent, from the British in 1963 spells democracy. For me, attaining, the new constitution and that devolved system of government, because that's what Kenyans wanted and had wanted for a very long time, is democracy. Let's hear what other people have to say. It's just that space. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Fred. Please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Frederick Okango. I am a lawyer by training. I am a communication specialist by training. I am a politician by choice. And I'm glad to meet all of you. How many of you are happy? How many of you are sad? How many of you are democratic? None. Thank you so much. I am very happy to be here. I think this is the first time I'm engaging with some of you. I normally subscribe to the school of thought that we have got the post-democratic events, the pre and the post. The Greek in the establishment, they developed two words. One of them was called demos. The other one was called kratos. So if you follow the Greek revolution, demos means the people. Kratos, the rule. That was the pre-democratic events. How the people interacted with the laws and systems of that time. In the post, a lot of countries in Africa, Kenya included, have managed to establish themselves through principles and processes that we now call democratic principles. And I'll give you a case study in Kenya. When we got our independence, we had got the Constitution of the Independence. We had got rules that govern us. But fast forward, in 2010, the people of Kenya gave themselves a document that today we refer to the Constitution of Kenya 2010. That document established this country as a republic in Article 4, and we said we are a multi-party democratic state governed by the principle of governance and the national values. Therein we have got participation of the people, political processes, rule of law, free and fair elections, devolution, and many more. So to answer in the present terms, when you hear anyone says that I am democratic, this is a democratic process, this is democracy, then that person is actually referring to the ability to apply themselves to the principles of governance that allow themselves to be led, to lead, and within certain confinements of the law that gives you the rights to choose. Somebody talked of the rights to choose, where you can choose to run for office or not. You can choose to visit any part of this country, So in my assessment and in my knowledge, that is what I would consider democracy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fred, for that very elaborate presentation. And at this moment, I want to welcome Mwalimu to also introduce himself and also to give a few remarks before I come back to the Gen Zs. Karibu, Mwalimu.
Thank you. You've heard I have been told to give remarks. I have not been told to tell you what I think about democracy. My name is Odoyo Widi. I am the convener of this forum. For your benefits as Gen Zs, it is your show. It is you can shut somebody up here and not anybody else. Now I want to make a statement on democracy. It is something that from where I sit is overrated, because it is democracy that promotes kakistocracy, it is what promotes plutocracy, and it is what promotes kleptocracy. Kakistocracy is the form of rule by the least qualified. And how does that happen? Because of democracy, the least qualified rule because they are the majority. Democracy puts them in power. Plutocracy is the governance by the richest. Because of democracy, the richest always get elected. It is democracy that stifles meritocracy. It is. How does it happen? Sometimes, take for example, in Kenya, we have 47 governors. 47. And those 47 are largely politicians. More often than not, these 47 people contributes a lot to democracy, contributes a lot to the election of the top leader, who is the president. And because they are supposed to be oversighted by the national government, the very one many times they are supposed to contribute in their election, sometimes when they commit those heinous economic acts, the national government may look the other way because of democracy. If you had something that they call autocracy, the president would not look any other way when things are being done wrongly. I also must say that democracy also promotes kleptocracy. Many people's kleptocracy is where a country is governed by largely thieves. So these people steal so that one day they will buy the majority to get elected. And it also makes the government systems look the other way when some other people who are influential in politics steal. So then, what is the best form of government? Is democracy good? the best would have been meritocracy. But why would we not have meritocracy? Because the incompetent are the majority. Do you know in this country, even somebody who thinks ngurumo ya radi ni witchcraft is also a voter? Yes. Wakisikia, they think it is witchcraft, but they are also voters. They are also supposed to make decisions. We have people who can hardly write their names. They also have one voter's card. We also have people who believes anything that comes off a TV or a newspaper. They are also voters. Then we have you, who may read by themselves, do fact check, and understand. You are also a voter, but you are very few. You are outnumbered 90 to 1. So this is the problem we have with democracy. But incidentally, it is the most accepted form. Because these people that I say are largely incompetent, if you attempt to leave them out, you will not be able to govern any society. They need their space. They also see themselves as equal. In social media, you will notice them. They are the ones who insult the most. Because intelligence is a person who is capable of understanding others. But these people don't want to understand you. When you differ with them, because of the little knowledge they have, they will tell you you are the most stupid. So from where I sit, we are tolerating democracy because it is the most accepted, not really the best. So from where we sit here and where we need to debate about democracy with those things in mind. But also remember, it is the most accepted and we cannot do without it for the time being. How would we eliminate these issues that make democracy a bad thing? Education. It is a progressive discovery of our ignorance. And the moment you discover you are ignorant, you will begin to learn from others. You will begin to understand what is going on in and around you, and you'll be able to make informed decisions now that we have democracy around. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mwalimu. And so many things are coming up, and I saw Sharon was laughing when you mentioned witchcraft. Sharon, you were laughing when Mwalimu mentioned witchcraft, and I remember that you come from Ukambani. But anyways, so I want to come back to the Gen Zs because you've heard a lot of what the panelists have been able to say, especially around what democracy generally means. But I want to come to you because my question is very simple. First of all, how many of you have ever participated in any democratic activity? Yes. Which democratic activity did you participate in?
The most common one, I participated in voting. I voted. Okay. As a registered voter in 2022. That is the very core of our democracy. Okay. When we say that Kenya is a democracy, especially a constitutional democracy, it means that in every election cycle, every 5 years, we the people are given the power to elect our leaders, leaders.
I want to come to the other people who also raised their voice. I don't know whether you people also voted or you participated in different democratic activities, starting with you, Wakili.
Okay, I can say that I attended protests. Yes, and I believe that by doing that, I wanted my voice to be heard. You know, I felt like I had the right to go out there and claim my rights, you know, to be heard. That I feel like that is democracy, one way or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl, you kind of also raised your voice, your hand.
I've been a registered voter since 2022.
So you voted in 2022?
Yes.
Thank you. Yagon?
As for me, I have voted in a student setup. I've also asked for votes. And I have also participated in other democratic processes like writing memoranda to the National Assembly on bills that they intend to pass. I have also challenged policy. I have also criticized leaders. Protest ishainipata town, but I was not a participant. So
protest ilikupata town. I know you've been a student leader at Chuka University.
Yes.
Thank you. Sharon?
Through demos.
Oh, ulikuwa maandamano pia.
Inject.
We listen. We don't judge.
We listen, we don't judge. I have never voted. I am more of an observer.
Okay. Emmanuel.
All right. I have voted twice, elected leaders. The people who I voted were all elected, pronounced by IEBC. I've acted as a referee, so yeah. But I've not participated in protest, and I don't think I will. Yes.
Thank you so much. Farah?
I haven't participated in voting nor protesting.
Do you intend to vote in the coming days?
Yeah.
Thank you. Jafar?
For me, I have never vote or participate in protest, but for the coming election, I will go into vote.
Thank you. But at the time you were voting in 2022, you were eligible to vote?
No, 2022, I was waiting for my ID. I just graduated from high school in 2021.
Okay. Thank you. So I think one thing is coming out very clearly that a very fundamental aspect of democracy is the voting process in our country. And I just want to ask randomly, and I want you to be very genuine as you answer this. Nimesema hii ni show yenu, and I want you to tell us, so I know the panelists will respond. Do you feel the democratic space in Kenya as it is today works in your favor as a young person, Leo? Any person anaweza answer, so it doesn't have to be. So do you think as it is, una feel kwamba ina work for you as a young person? Ama it is working for some specific individuals? Sharon?
Probably it's working for the rich. Yeah, the rich, because something that I had said earlier, Kenya got democracy when we weren't mature enough. Mature in what sense? You know, what he said that can make democracy be handled well is, for one, education, and majorly civic education. Let people know about their rights. Let people be intelligent, educated. So when people ain't educated and they are the majority, how is it supposed to work for me? Yes, I know the role of a leader. I know what I'm going to do when I be elected. But these people, and you know, it's not even about the education, it's poverty too. Yeah.
Okay.
So
according to you, it's not working?
No, it's not working for the youth.
Thank you, Sharon, for that contribution. Anybody else?
According to me, democracy is partly working for the young people because, you know, we are a growing country. We have not yet reached to Singapore, as the president would put it. But when we look at the progress that we have made as a country, we have moved from one-party democracy to multi-party democracy, where everybody's voice is heard and is converted to a vote, and everybody is given an opportunity to participate in the decision-making processes of the country. When some of us, the Gen Z, went to the streets in June 2024 and also 2025, and also the previous years during the reign of His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, that in itself proves that democracy works, because you're given a space to picket. Though sometimes that particular process is curtailed by the police, but at least we are given an opportunity to speak. Even the constitutional framework from 2010 allows us to make decisions in our country. And I must appreciate Mr. Fred Okango, because I've been watching him from 2022. When he used to be with Baba, he used to appear in TV shows, and he really fought for the democracy of this country alongside Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. So I must say that democracy is partly working for the young people, because even when bills are being made in parliament, you are given an opportunity to draft a memoranda and submit it to the, is it the clerk of the National Assembly?
Okay.
Yeah, those people. So you are given a chance to participate. Similarly, public participation is usually held. The Constitution of Kenya in Article 10 provides public participation as a principle of public governance. Although sometimes it's only procedural, but if it was followed to the latter, then at least democracy ought to have worked. Therefore, democracy partly works and partly fails in some aspects. So what we just need is improvement on democracy.
Thank you, Akila. I know you are a lawyer. If given opportunity, you can speak to... Yes. So if democracy is working, why did we see the young people coming up to protest in 2024 and even to the an year after? So coming to you, Wakili, Wakili over here is saying that democracy is working for us, partly, sindio?
Yeah.
Lakini in 2024, tunaona the young people came out and protested. What was the problem?
I do believe that when you're talking about democracy, as I said before, it's all about, it gave us the voice. You know, we had the voice from the Constitution. When you're talking about Article 38, which talks about right to fair hearing, right to assembly, like let me just say the Bill of Rights. And as a citizen in 2024, we have the right to go out there and protest, right? And we, at the same time, we also have the right to challenge power in court, you know. And us going out on the roads and protesting, it is us trying to claim for what we feel is right for us, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, and I believe that with that is democracy. That is us trying to fight for ourselves, because we don't want to say that democracy is a curse. We want to say that it is weaker enforcement that we have. You know, we have weaker institutions. So that is according to me.
Thank you. Cheryl, is democracy working for you?
My take on democracy itself is wide, so it has its merits and demerits. First of all, we have the choice. The choice is where we exercise our voting rights, because our system of governance, our representatives are us who are voted in. So the first demerit of it is us who elect wannabe oligarchs in knockoff suit and silk ties, expecting them to be leaders. These people, when they go there, Chapter 6 of the Constitution talks of leadership integrity. Democracy thrives where there is integrity. Integrity, if it's not there, then we won't have accountability, something that's very much lacking in our system. On the other hand, we have the freedom to choose. We have the freedom of the voice. So as you asked him earlier, if democracy is working, why were youths on the streets in 2024, June, I believe? In that instant, the people we elected failed us because they lack integrity in that moment. So it was our voice to go out in the streets and protest so that we can be heard. Yes.
Thank you for that. Guillermo,
yes.
Democracy ina work kwako?
The work of building a nation is continuous work in progress. No nation can say that it has built its spaces or its institutions to their optimum. The work of building a nation, just like working on your own self as a person, is continuous in progress. So Kenya, we have made strides as a constitutional democracy, where according to our constitution, we the people are given that power to choose our leaders in every election cycle. That is one aspect of democracy. There is no time in this country that we have skipped an election, whether it's rigged or it's not. But you see, it's not just about, especially me, I insist on that voting aspect, because it is now via voting where we the people subject or rather surrender our power to our elected leaders.
Okay.
Democracy is partly working for the young people. And if I could speak, I know it should be a political, but if I could delve into, as an example, this administration has taken a step of wanting to engage the young people and wanting to build the capacity of the young people to lead and to take over democratic offices and spaces in this country. As an example, if I could single out the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, under the patronage of Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen, they came up with a platform from about the tail end, around September of last year to December, where they engaged people in the Jukwaa la Usalamas. In the Jukwaa la Usalama, people, especially those in national government administration, from the provincial administration to county administration, even to the grassroots, the chiefs, the assistant chiefs, the deputy county commissioners, and in fact, even the village elders who want to be brought up and be enrolled into official administration, they reached out to the grassroots to want to know that you as the people that are the agents of government at the very grassroots, what is it that the people want deep down at the grassroots?
Okay.
What is it that we, the government, can do better? I think that is a stride. That is not the only aspect of democracy, but that alone is a stride to want to push and lift us to a better place, to better spaces. And if we could have more engagements in all the government ministries, state departments, and even state agencies, where the government can really go down to the people through proper public participation, civic education is conducted, and the people are consulted to want to know what is it that exactly that they want at the grassroots. Not just formality alone, not just because it is espoused in our constitution, but because that is the right thing to do. And once the people voice what they want to be done for them, the government can follow up, not to totality, as of that administration, but also the political goodwill, such that if the people say that we're having a problem with this in this administration, problems don't go away with an administration. They can only be worked on and make them better.
Yes, I'll come back to you. Jafar, briefly, in our work, kweli?
In our work.
In our work.
Yeah. So according to me, democracy has brought challenges and opportunities. For opportunities like demanding accountability, freedom of speech. It has also faces challenges such as tribal politics, corruption, and all those stuffs. So the succession of democracy depends on the leadership and citizens themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jafar. Candy, you have heard some of the Gen Zs have alluded to the fact of being failed by the leaders they elect. So I'd want to know from your perspective whether you share in the same sentiments.
Well, I think Kenya is a young democracy. Even with the new constitution, it's just 15 years old. So I think we should be able to give our country grace when it comes to that. I usually think the concept of democracy is a double-edged sword. In this way, on one side, you have a majority of a population that does not understand fully the concept of democracy, which is, I elect a leader, I should be able to hold our leader to accountable, institutions should be able to work in a certain way. The other side, and I think Mwalimu should have included it, is where democracy is flawed, in the sense that Mwalimu talked about kleptocracy. I think if there's something like tribocracy, that should be included. Because if we look at Kenyan politics, we can't talk about democracy without talking about politics. A large part of our our democracy is hinged on tribe. And Gen Z have come forward and said that we are tribeless, we are leaderless. But this is something that continues to plague the democratic space. Otivia, I don't remember your question. But basically, I think that we need to give our institutions time. The concept of democracy is multi-layered in a sense that even how it is applied to the day-to-day functions is something that is not completely understood. And it's something, again, that we borrowed from colonialists. So maybe tweaking it into a system that works better for us is something that maybe is a conversation we should have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Candy. And I think I love the fact that you brought out the aspect of copy-pasting something from elsewhere, bringing it into our very own context without really tweaking into the needs of our country, for example. Yes, and I think you're just right on track. So I want to come to you, Farah, before I now return back to the panelists. Before I come back to my panelists also for responses, you had the challenges that the Gen Zs are talking about, that much as our democracy has evolved, we are still seeing challenges such as corruption, unemployment. The young people still feel excluded. So what is the problem?
Okay, what I've seen and much of it is the leaders we elect. In some places of Kenya, especially coming from the northern part of Kenya, whenever they elect leaders, they elect it in the form of clans, and people go under corruption and unemployment because someone is from different clan and all kind of stuff. And I think that's what the youth are facing. And as Kenyans, we need to remove something like corruption and tribalism in democracy so that it can work for all of us.
Oh, you have okay. Yes, Sharon. You have someone coming to you.
Oh, I wanted to second what's a lady there. Even though I'm seconding, I'm also partly challenging it. She said that our leaders failed us. Of course, they did fail us. But how is it that we have a society where 99% of our leaders are bad people? Doesn't that mirror who we are?
True.
Imagine to the core we are bad people. If we voted because somebody had money, why are we getting surprised they are going to steal another amount of wealth?
Okay.
So democracy, it's about all of us.
Yeah.
If we want good leaders, then let us be good people. Yeah.
Thank you. So you are saying we should not blame the leaders that we have today?
Because they are our mirror. They are who we are. We chose our kind.
Well, I'm not going to critique what you say, but rather expound on what I meant. When I said the leaders failed us, we all know during campaign periods, these people sell us heavens. So if you come to me and sell me a dream, and I think it's something fruitful, I'll buy the dream. The issue comes in when that now dream or that line is blurred. Because 90% of the time, you're going to elect somebody. The moment they get their first salaries, they'll never come back to the village. Now, our own weaknesses come in when we re-elect these people. That's where our failure comes in. Re-electing them in offices without merits. That's where now us as voters rather have that shortcomings. But in the let's say, if I give an MP 5 years in office to execute a job, why is this MP waiting for the 5th year to start constructing a road? And he's going to tell me to give him 5 more years so that he can finish building this road. Unaona? So in that moment, if we re-elect them, then we are the problem. But the first 4 years, they failed us. Our national government promised us everything good. But as at now, we are at a point where people are crying. Well, that's something different. Okay, according to my own opinion, the issue of the national government, most people never knew never understood the government's agenda then. Our sitting president, I know I'm going to stir a lot of feelings with this, but the president is doing exactly what he sold us in 2022. But then we were voting on ethnic compatibility and everything and popularity. We were not voting on logic. I don't know if the other person or the other candidates would have fulfilled the duties more. But in that moment, it wasn't about agenda because 90% of Kenyans don't even understand why they are voting. They vote because it's so and so standing. It's standing for this political. They vote because of political blocks. Not reason or agenda or anything. And if you look at the population pyramid of Kenya, the younger people are the majority. And these are the people that never voted. If you look at the statistics of 2022, the elderly voted more compared to the youth. Why?
So Cheryl, still on you, do you feel that for somebody who has not participated in the electoral process, does this person still have the right to then question the leaders who are eventually elected?
Well, democratically, yes. Question them because they're in the office and they should execute whatever they have been elected to do there. Again, ask yourself, as a person who had the age of 18 is where you get your ID. So I expect if I run back 4 years ago, every 22-year-old should have voted in 2022. unaona?
Yeah.
But majority of them never voted because they don't care, or they're too cool for it, or their parents will do it for them. You see such issues. They my underlying point is accountability. Whether they were elected with these people who never voted or not, all leaders should be held accountable.
Thank you. I want to come to my panelists before I come back to you. Najua mko na responses mingi sana, si ndio? Kwanza ule Jemo pale najua kuna mali umeguswa, but it is well. So karibu sana Advice Mundalo. We are having a discussion on democracy, the Kenyan context, and also whether it is a plus or a minus to the young people. So we have just asked the young people whether they feel that democracy is working for them. Those are a few responses zenye wamepatiana hapo. So I want to come to you, Ms. Joanne, and I know Advice will also contribute even as come to us this other end. Yeah. If indeed democracy is working for us, why do the young people still feel excluded? You are seeing the kind of animosity we are seeing. Cheryl alluding, for example, she says that 90% of Kenyans do not even know the kind of leaders they want. So I'd want to know if indeed democracy is working for us, why are we still having the young people feeling disenfranchised and excluded?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I like the way the discussion is going. Today we have a very enlightened team. And
Let us give a round of applause for that.
And I like the way you understand what you're talking about. A very good thing. And Cheryl, you've mentioned something that, has been playing on my mind for a very long time. You're saying that the president is actually responding to his manifesto, right? Is that what you meant? But the population did not vote based on the manifesto of the party, right? But he's doing exactly what he promised to do. So I'm wondering, why then are the young people complaining that the president is not doing anything? Where is that disgruntlement coming from? And my question now is, whose democracy is this? Whose democracy are you looking at? We've said here that we are very tribal. We voted according to tribe. So when you're voting according to tribe or according to mutu wangu, then whose democracy is this? At independence, the reason why the British colonized Kenya was to extract, resources. They did that, and I think they left us with that, with that as a foundation for the country, the extraction of resources. And maybe that's where we are coming from. But then again, we got independence, we got our constitution that gives us a lot of power. You have said that you vote in your MP and you don't see them again, and probably you see them 5 years later. What are you doing as a citizen? Because that is still democracy. Democracy doesn't begin and stop at the ballots. You have to keep speaking. 2024 was such a platform. Democracy is a continuum. Development is a continuum. The reason why we are having this conversation very freely, the reason why you're able to demonstrate, the reason why you're able to petition parliament and even your leaders is because there are those who came before you and actually had to rise up to the occasion because there was a democratic space that was granted to them. So democracy is a continuum. Development is a continuum. The institutions that we enjoy today are not perfect, but they're as a result of that opportunity being granted. So democracy is dicey. And what I think we need to ask ourselves every day is, whose democracy is this? Ni ya nani, tafadhali? Ni ya Wamunyoro, ni ya nani? Asante.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joanne, for that. Very profound. Also mentioning, I like what you mentioned, that Kenyans voted for a performer, but now when the performer starts performing, they start complaining. So it's like they voted for something else. Kitu kama hiyo, si ndio? Advice, Mundalo, you heard the sentiments of the young people, so maybe you can also respond to their remarks as you also introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, and apologies for coming a bit late. My name is Mundalo Advice. I am part of this conversation. And maybe if I can just start from where you are having a conversation about democracy. And I liked that topic when I read it, just on my way here, that is democracy working for Africa? And my answer has always been double-fold. That on one end, I believe that democracy is working for Africa. Why? Because democracy, first of all, what is it? It is by the people, for the people. So democracy gives us the leaders that we so highly desire. That is the first thing that happens. Unfortunately for us, sometimes after we get the leaders that we so highly desire, we again think we behave like we're not the ones who put them in office. So democracy is working for us first by giving us the leaders that we so highly desire. The second thing is that democracy is working for us by enabling us to create institutions that we want by ourselves. And that's why when you look at our constitution of Kenya and the constitution of Tanzania, they are not the same. Kenya has some institutions that maybe Tanzania does not have. Tanzania has some that maybe Kenya does not have. But then what kind of institutions do we create for ourselves again as a democratic people? Sometimes we have also ended up creating institutions that gag our own development. So then, because most of the time our democratic conversations have been pegged more on activism more than governance. So I've always argued that democracy ensures that we have a lot of conversation, but not a lot of progress. So it ensures that we have so much time to talk. So most of our energy is spent saying that our TikTok must not be restricted. We must be allowed to speak without asking ourselves, what exactly do we want to speak about? But we just want to speak. That we can be able to go live on TikTok at 1 a.m. and do whatever the thing we want to do there. And we call that the right to expression. So democracy in some way allows us to be able to have some of these things. So it then varies depending on how do you model your democracy? Because some people model their democracy in such a manner that it works for them. Some of the inventors of the applications that we use in the name of speech, in their own countries, they are democratic, but they have limited their use. But for us, we try and ensure that our democracy expands so that we don't limit anything. So at the end of the day, we get ourselves into this place whereby we want to have our cake and eat it at the same time. We want to be allowed to do whatever we want to do. We want to be allowed to choose the leader that we can choose from wherever. But after we choose the leader, after we choose our leader on the basis of the number of funerals they have attended, we then want them to be able to legislate properly in parliament. Now that becomes an oxymoron. After we have chosen our leader, because this leader, he was the best entertainer. He entertained us very much. He was the one who could go live and make us laugh. After we have chosen them on the basis of laughter, we want to then judge them on the basis of policy. So it becomes an oxymoron because now at the end of the day, we must be able to, it is garbage in, garbage out. So these are some of the things that democracy sometimes highlights. And sometimes also, the person who does not wish us well also uses the same democracy to derail us. So that even when something is happening in any particular field, because we have so many people who are not interested in the development of Africa, they sponsor us to continue having more conversations than progress. So they tell us, guys, there is a road being built. No, ask whether there was public participation. Yeah? Ask whether so that at the end of the day, we are put in a loop where we continue having conversations. I have been part of the leadership of a political party in Kenya before, and one of the things that always puzzled me was one, that there was enough money to fund me to take people anywhere in the country to go and talk. Talk about leadership. Talk about where we want to go. Talk about how the world should be. Talk about how youth should get into leadership. But when I asked, okay, fine, now we are getting into an election, can I get also money to enable these youth to also now vie for office? Now that money is not there. At that level, we are told, no, we don't interfere with the sovereignty of other countries. We are non-aligned. Yes. So we must be very careful when we are talking matters democracy, because whereas on one end, it works for us, on the other end, it is the same one that gags us, and it even protects good leaders from executing good leadership. Why? Because every time they want to do something, our democracy dictates to us that we should be questioning them, we should be hating them, and for some reason, I don't know why, in democratic countries, the most popular people are the ones who hate government.
True or false?
Thank you.
Tibio, maybe just to expand a little on what he has said about, a country being, a community of nations, because that's what he was bringing up. You will find that sometimes you in your space in Kenya want something to run a certain way as a democratic right. But because we are we ascribe to other, conventions or agreements globally. Hii kitu inatufinya. I will take the example of this whole climate change agenda, at the risk of sounding mbaya. You find that climate change is about pollution, right? And you find that, developing countries like Kenya are suffering it, but we least pollute the air. What is going on now? We are being told, listen, you cannot utilize coal. You cannot utilize those things that are polluting the air, that are making those countries industrialize. And what is it doing to you as Kenyans? You can't industrialize, because I don't think you can drive industrialization with renewable energy. You may tell me that. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. So I think at the end of the day, I'm just trying to say democracy is a double-edged sword. You can want as a country to go a certain way, but you're gagged or you're tied because of some relationships that you may have. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Thank you so much also, Mundalo, for your previous remarks. How many of us are learning something? Education inafanyika, si ndio? Most of the times you want democracy, but then you are also realizing that democracy could also be gagging us in terms of development, si ndio? So I'll come to you, Okango. You've heard what the young people said. I know you have got, you want to respond to a couple of things, but I would also want to know, connected to what we saw in the previous weeks, there was a demonstration that was called, but the young people did not show up. So is it a question of the young people are now able to interrogate and see whether this is worth our time or this is not, ama tu hawakupangwa?
Thank you. Allow me to respond to a few issues, and then I'll answer that.
Okay.
I started by saying that as a country, we are a multi-party democratic state. And all of us, we believe that this country must be governed within the rule of law. And therefore it calls upon us that we respect the supreme law, which is the Constitution of Kenya 2010. So anything outside it will be illegal ab initio, and that is the law. So you cannot even attempt. However, in discussing democracy, there are two types. There's what's called procedural democracy and substantive. Procedural in the sense that if today I wake up from my house and I go and cast a ballot and I vote, I will not care whether it was flawed or not. I have exercised my democratic right, but the product will be flawed. That is democracy. Number two, substantive democracy. I question why the bridge that is being built across the road did not have my view as a Kenyan who believe in participation of the people. That's accountability. Elections that produce people that are not governing by the tenets of the law. They don't legislate, they don't represent, and they don't oversight. And therefore, I question, why did you go to parliament or in the county assembly? That is substantive accountability, and many other examples. But somebody asked, these people that we put in office, for whatever reason, somebody said tribal. In the Constitution of Kenya, there's nowhere the word tribe is mentioned, none. However, the people of Kenya thought it wise that they should replace it with the word called ethnic, which has been used in the Constitution of Kenya 12 times. And that's why they said, in appointing people into public office, that must reflect the regional, ethnic, and diversity of the people of Kenya. It's a constitutional principle. So that at some point, because we have a democratic state, we must ensure that a Turkana, a Somali, a Borana, a Luo, a Kikuyu are appointed in some level so that they are represented and they get the feeling that in this democratic state, we are the people. Now, there's something I noted here about the youth. One of the young people this evening just now said that the young people are not very happy about some of these democratic tenets that we are experiencing and exploring as a country because they don't work for them. And therefore, she or he doesn't believe in a democratic state. I want you to visit a website called constitute.com for the lawyers who are here or law students. It is only the Constitution of Kenya, I think, and maybe one or two, that has a whole article dedicated to young people, Article 55, that give the money to the state. It says, the state shall ensure that they take measures that will protect the youth from harmful cultural practices, ensure that they are politically, socioeconomically included, and also access to employment. But we still have young people saying, we don't have jobs. We still have young people taking miadarati in Mombasa. We still have young people being, their private parts being mutilated in some regions. And we are a democratic state with systems of governance and laws that protect young people. Therefore, I wanted to refer to what I said, procedural and substantive. Then, on the issue of our Kenya country, recently, one of the head of state from the region made remarks and said, hao wanajiita hiyo jina, wakikuja huko wachape mkwaju, wakija huku mtawachapa mkwaju. Remember? And young people from the region were very upset. Then I watched my president, and he was very restrained. He didn't want to talk about it because he understands that he is leading a country that is democratic and give the opportunity for young people to exercise their right. Not only young people, everyone, through Article 37 that one of you said, where you can actually free to demonstrate peaceably and unarmed and present petitions. That is democracy. Now, let me tell you something, young people. We also talked about, because we are a democratic state, we also talked about how we put people into office. Because the democracy that allows us to do so, somebody said, depending on how best they sing in a funeral, how best they dress, how best they play a guitar, you admire them, they relate to you, and then you go and vote them. Because we are a democratic state, we have been given the guidelines on who to elect. And this is what it says. It says, the guiding principle in putting people into office, selection to office, shall be personal integrity, suitability, competency, and capability. How come when we go to the ballot, we don't put those people on that weighing scale of the principle, the spectrum, and vote them based on the four? How come? Because they are our friends. They are my relatives. They are my tribe. They are from my ethnic background. That is why in Kenya we largely practice procedural democracy. And we have forgotten substantive democracy that gives us an opportunity to put the leadership into account. I like this president today. I never voted for him, but today I work for him. I love him because he has demonstrated that even with the challenges, the democratic challenges that we have as a country, we can still listen to the most civic, vigorous group of this country, that the young people, the Gen Z, that today they can take the Finance Bill 2026, put it on an AI tool, and in 5 minutes, they have analyzed and they tell the president, Mr. President, you must withdraw this bill. How beautiful is that? So, even with the challenges that we have, look at other countries, the Sebos, our neighbors. You can't. You can't do that. I must tell you, young people, with the challenges of democracy in Africa, and even in Kenya, somebody said we are a young democracy. We are not. Kenya is a developing democracy. It's not young. This country, we have got provisions for participation of people. This country, we have got provision for young people to be protected. This country, we have got provision for everyone to do whatever they want to do within the law. Freedom of speech, expression, participation in politics, and the media, all those. And if I don't do, we are so litigious. You run to court and stop. The president, Dr. William RUTO, some of his projects have been stopped on account of that. There was no participation of the people. And he has shelved them. And at the end of 5 years, because it's a democracy, we expect to question, why didn't you build roads that we stopped because our democracy allows us to do so? Do you understand? Yes. So I want you, as you have this discourse, look at procedural and substantive. And I finish by saying, I always love young people because they're very innovative, but not only innovative, they're also creative in whatever they do. I want to see a situation in this country going forward, as we discuss these democratic principles, where the young people will one day wake up, because you said they're the majority based on the data from the last election, 2022. In fact, you said that more of the elderly voted compared to the young people. True. While statistics show that in terms of population census, there are more young people than the old. In fact, it shows that more young people are registering as voters. How come the young people have never elected one of their own as the president? And then they say, now we are what's your name?
I'm Cheryl.
Cheryl, yes, as the president of the Republic of Kenya. And Cheryl now chooses a Gen Z cabinet with a Gen Z parliament. How come? You know why? Because we have forgotten to give preference to substantive democracy, where we put issues of accountability. The young people are saying, if we are going to vote, we must go for a voting system that is accountable, transparent, and verifiable. Okay? That's what they want. How come the young people are yet to propose a system to the IEBC that will actually live to the true principle of the general electoral system in Article 81 that demands all the three things I've said? So I submit by saying, I appreciate the effort the young people are putting out there, the Gen Z. You have done up. In fact, why not for June 25th? Maybe today we'll be speaking about something else. But because June 25th is coming, but because we have a country that has tried to advance in terms of democracy, I normally do op-eds in the newspaper every Wednesday. Last Wednesday, I wrote about the expected holiday next month. What the opposition leaders were talking about will be a holiday. And I said, the young people of this country are not stupid. They went to the streets that time to demand certain things. And the majority of them have also learned that in that street, there are also other people with another agenda. But because it is a democracy, we are free to go to the streets within the confines of the law. Because it says, even that exercising that Article 37 as a democratic state, there are certain things that is called limits. If it is reasonable and justifiable, you can be limited. You are a fourth-year law student. Yeah. You know that. I'm sure you have read that. So I'm finishing by saying that our democracy is not young. It is growing, and we must now make it work. How do you make it work? We must apply ourselves to what I call substantive democracy more than the procedural democracy, because procedural democracy is like a routine. On 10th of August next year, I will have to vote. So what? It says national values, participation of people. There's a road being built, I'll go and present myself, say, no, me, I want it to be tarmac. No, me, I want it maram. I've participated. So what? Yeah. But go into substantive after procedural. Question and ask yourself, this road, how much did it cost? If it cost 4 billion, what is the return on investment? Now that is substantive democracy. I yield.
Thank you so much, Okanga. I know you're a politician. I was beginning to get worried, but...
No, don't be worried.
You yielded.
Politicians are good people, don't be worried.
So thank you so much for that. I want to come to you Mwalimu, and to the Gen Zs, I hope mna note down hizo maswali zenu, si ndio? When I eventually give you the time also mna shoot, si ndio? Yeah, so Mwalimu, you've heard what the other panelists have said, what the Gen Zs have said, and I would love also you delve a bit into how important is it for young people to participate in these political parties, because there's been that aspect here, sisi tuko tribeless, tuko partyless and stuff, yet Okangwa has alluded to the fact that there are political vehicles that you have to use then to engage in this democratic activity. So how important is this for these young people to then participate in the political governance of the country?
Thank you very much, Tony. I don't know why we keep on in this country trying to separate the older people from the younger people as if they are two different communities. The person your father is an old man and a young man in one. The person who you are is only a young person. That is how it is. That is why you remember recently a president came up in Burkina Faso called Traore, and he was celebrated by the Gen Zs throughout the world. And he promised that he will have a democratic elections in 2 years. Exactly 2 years later, he announced that he does not have time for democracy, he has more important things to do. I am not saying he said that because he's a young man, but I also want you to appreciate that 96% of all dictators in the world got power when they were below 45. Not because that young people are bad, but there's a few things they are yet to learn. There are certain things that people do that at a certain age you cannot do, however much you are provoked. You will find out, because after some time there are a few things you learn. But let's look at this democracy issue. I heard people saying that they believe in democracy because they were able to protest. I'm asking, is participating in protest democracy? It is a core principle of democracy. And there is also something that if they are free and fair elections, is that democracy? That is a core principle of democracy. But then there are also a few things that we say they contaminate democracy. The good thing that democracy is to us, that make us believe is being contaminated by a few things, and they look like this. Ethnic mobilizations. They contaminate democracy because democracy is supposed to help you elect the best leaders. It's supposed to lead to meritocracy. And what does it lead to? Those things that are mentioned. So you end up having a democracy that has been contaminated by ethnic mobilization. You end up voting for somebody because he's from your community, but he's not the right person. There is also sectoral mobilizations. They also contaminate democracy. Up to and including mobilizations based on age. You can be mobilized and you do things because it is being done by the Gen Zs or the youth, and you get into it without interrogating the genesis. Propaganda is the greatest contaminator of democracy, because you can be fed on propaganda to an extent that you make decisions using it, and then you make the wrong decisions. I have never been in this forum without mentioning propaganda, one aspect or the other, because for me, from where I sit, propaganda has made so many of us make the wrong decisions. There is also other contaminators of democracy. One of them is poverty and illiteracy. Poverty sets you up to be bought easily by the very wrong people. The people who ends up making democracy put people in office who are generally bringing in plutocracy or kleptocracy. The another contaminator of democracy is emotions.
love, hate, hunger, and anger, all those, they contaminate because they create very high emotions. You know, human beings by their own nature, when they are suffering, it doesn't matter whether the suffering is their own making or somebody's, they want somebody to blame. They want a scapegoat. The best scapegoat to blame anywhere is the person in office. Just like in football, the person you want to blame is the person who is supposed to have scored, even when he did his best and nobody brought the ball. So these are the issues that we have, but also somebody said something very profound, and I think it was Mundalo. The most popular people are those who hate the government. You know why? Because people want a scapegoat for their problems. And the best scapegoat is the government. And when you point to people what they want to see, where they want to look, they really love you. But let's go back to the things I said. Emotions contaminate democracy. Somebody who makes you happy, either by his speech or his songs or his way of entertaining you, you are most likely going to vote him without considering what you are voting him to go and do. That is why in Uganda, there's a very popular man there who is a musician. And if you are to be given an evaluation sheet to evaluate him, to find out if he can do what governing a country requires, maybe he would score 2%. But we want to vote him because we love him, not because he can do what we want to be done. Let me tell you something. Let's be like another Indian who told me that when he wants to elect somebody, he first look at his role in governing, and he will look for somebody who can perform those roles. Just the same way when you want to build your house, you will look for the best mason, not your tribesman, not your relative, and not your brother. When we are doing the work done here, we got very many people from different communities. And you will be surprised. The person who did this work wasn't from our community, but we believed he was the best who could do the work. If we would do elections that way, we would be doing very well. But you see, there was a question here earlier, Tony. It was about, is democracy working? Yet in 2022, we used democracy to get the current leadership, which people even complained 3 months after they were in office. Do you think democracy was faulty in that case? It wasn't faulty. We are using our emotional issues to make political judgments. Why did we go to the streets in March 2023 to complain about cost of living when the government we elected had not read its first budget? When the PSS had not been sworn in, but we were on the streets complaining about cost of living. Do you think that was good judgment? And very many people supported that protest. Even when we went to the streets about the budget, do you know that budget has gone up with a lesser percentage than Uhuru Kenyatta's first budget after taking over from Kibaki? But nobody made a noise because propaganda is contaminating democracy. You can be fed a lot of information and then you believe in it and then you use it to make decisions when there are propaganda being fed to you by people who want A or B out of office. But I also want you, as you go look out there, look at what the current leaders supporting the government said before the elections. And the ones now castigating government said before election, exactly opposite. That should set Gen Zs going to the streets and complaining that we are being misled. That is when you will be good people. Finally, but I think also very important, there is something that we call resistance to development. If the person trying to provide the development is not the person we like. We have had people go to court to stop what a government is doing on very flimsy grounds. But you are very lucky you got a president who can be stopped for any tracks by a magistrate or a high court judge. And it's the same president you call dictator. Let me tell you, a dictator. A dictator suspends all courts. No court can stop him from doing anything. No parliament can stop him from doing anything. And in dictatorships, most likely, either opposition does not exist or they exist but in jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mwalimu, for that. And I know, Gen Zs, there are a lot of questions which have been thrown your way, and I know you are also eager to respond to some of what the contribution of the panelists, because the older generation is saying that they have fought for democracy, but I know for you the priority right now would be your economic affair, for example, Cindy. So I'd want to come to you, Emmanuel. Ama niwache kwanza, you had questions, Cindy?
Yes, I could.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. For me, it's more of a, I tend to look at these in different spectrums, and I'm glad that I have a learned councils in the house led by Council Okango, who can lead me on this. Before I can actually come to the main point, which is how democracy can derail our progress as a country. When someone has been either abducted or in the event there is an enforced disappearance, and someone files a case at the High Court of Kenya to claim that we need that so and so, or rather the government, a state agency or a government abducted someone, and before a court of law, a magistrate can issue an order through someone, through someone filing an habeas corpus, that compels you to produce that person either
Within
dead or alive. It is upon the IG, the Inspector General of Police, to produce the said person before a court of law, either that dead or alive. Now my question comes here, and now where you look at democracy, or rather the work of building a nation, as I said earlier, as a continuous work in progress. The IG has been directed by the court to produce the said person, either dead or alive. In the event he does not produce this person, he can be arraigned before a court of law and charged.
Yeah.
But now the downside of it is, who is going to arrest the IG to take him before the court of law? On the flip side, the CJ, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, someone can plant illicit goods or contraband, or even cannabis, bangi, for Garia, Chief Justice.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice can be arrested. But in which court is she going to be charged? By virtue of that, she sits at the helm of the criminal justice system. So democracy is a double-edged sword. And as I said earlier, our country, the work of building a nation, is continuous work in progress. It is far from over. Even our constitution, when you look at it, it has given we the citizens as the custodians of the power that we give to that we subject, or rather not even subject, that we in a way hand over, quote unquote, to our elected leaders once we put them in office. That is one side of it. But this very same constitution has also some of its demerits, that is a continuous work in progress. And that is one side of it. On the other context of court orders, rather where democracy derails our development.
And I want you to be direct now with the question of court orders.
Yes, I want to be very direct with the question of court orders. As an example, a president can come up, like for example, William RUTO can today say, we need to, or even let me use an example that is relevant right now. The people that are built on riparian land or on road reserves. For example, you saw Kenha giving a caution that in the next 14 days, all people that are within the road reserves along the Thika Superhighway will have to be moved. You see, it is easy to politicize, or it is easy for someone to go to court and say, we were given approvals to build here. But that doesn't mean that it is wrong to build on riparian land. So someone can run to court and then find a court order to try and either stop development or try and derail development. So this aspect of democracy, and someone, by virtue of someone having a court order that they can either do away or derail something, I think is something that needs to be looked at in a different perspective.
Thank you.
Those are the two main issues that I had. Thank you.
And I'll still come to you. There was something that the panelists said, and I've not heard you people responding to it, that most of the times we say we are the most learned and we are the most learned in the university and stuff, but when it comes to elections, even the kind of people we elect, and then immediately we elect them, we start complaining. So I'd also love to hear your responses to that. For example, because there was the allegation that we go to the elections and then we elect people depending on how we feel about them, not necessarily the ability to perform. So I'd also love to hear your responses towards that, especially you, Cheryl, because we do nini hiyo sana. And then also I'll come to you, Akili, and then nitakuja kwako Emmanuel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tony, can I weigh on that? Only 30 seconds.
Please.
As mentioned earlier, our downside is in fact illiteracy and poverty.
But you are in university. You people are not illiterate.
I'm not talking about myself. I'll come to me at the latter. I'm talking about the masses. You know, illiteracy, or rather going to school, education eradicates illiteracy, but it does not make someone intelligent. Okay. So the ability for someone to make a decision independently is in fact the elephant in the room. And also to weigh, it's not even about education. Someone can be learned in university, but the ethnic balkanization, negative ethnicity can derail us as a country. And then on the last part of it, I also want to weigh on the aspect of civic education. People should vote based on, in fact, people don't even read manifestos. People vote for who is convenient. As an example, in this country, from 2002, people don't vote for someone, they vote against. In 2002, people were voting out more.
How many agree to his statement?
People don't vote for, they vote against. In 2002, watu walikuwa wamesema yote yawezekana bila Moi. I mean, doesn't matter who, wacha Moi afanye nini, aende. We elected Kibaki, who happened to be a good president and raised our economy. In 2022, watu walikuwa wamesema, yani Uhuru amaliza afanye nini, aende. So amaliza aende for who? For William RUTO, who they voted in. They did not read his manifesto. They did not read what he wanted to do for the country. And now you see when he's trying to implement what he even said in his manifesto, because he had even proposed an housing levy. People did not read. They voted him in for convenience. Now when he's trying to perform, now when that performer is trying to perform, is being derailed. For me, it is more a systemic issue. It is more of a system issue than just about the person and finger pointing. Yes. Yes, institutional issue. Thank you for that.
Okay. Systemic issue. Sharon.
Actually, I wanted to respond on the issue about we vote nini according to our emotions, which is true because, you know, we are emotional beings. Tony, if you don't connect with people emotionally, how are you going to communicate with them? You could be the best person, but they don't feel you. You know, the ground has to feel you. And people end up doing anything. That's why even people give out money. Why? Because money will excite them. It will provoke emotions. So we are emotional beings. If you connect with them at a point of logic, maybe they will prefer someone whom they connect with them emotionally. Yeah, we are emotional beings. So I don't know how this one will be solved because it's a thing.
but you know, you people are talking like, okay, I'm coming to you. You people are talking like there are some other people elsewhere that normally
even
practice
us.
Those things.
No, it's us.
It is a new problem. But mnasema wale watu wengine.
We choose based on emotions.
Tuwe tu honest sisi wenyewe. Hata pale campus politics. How many tunaangalianga hizi vitu tunaongelea ama tu hizi ni there for some other people.
No, unaulizangwa bedhe hata ukianza unaulizangwa ground inakufeel. Like ina connect na wewe emotionally.
So ground kama inakufeel hiyo inamaanisha like
uko na chances. You could be speaking the biggest English. But do they feel you?
You've been a student leader, Yegon. Asante sana Sharon. Najua ulikuwa faculty rep pale. So you understand matters ground. So you can also tell us your experience because we are talking as if wale watu wako huko they are very different. They are not ni kama sisi wa Kenya. Unaona? So I want us to own this discussion to iseme as if ni sisi. How many of us hawajawahi kula pesa ya siasa? Au usiinue mkono. Yes, wakili.
Sasa just to respond on that issue, there is somebody who said that you can take the boy out of the village, but you cannot take the village out of the boy. So that is the same thing even when it comes to educated young people like us. We go to university, we go to law school, some of us, we are taught about equity, we are taught about Article 27, we are taught about democracy, participation, voting, and all those things. But when it comes to making decision at the voting, at the ballot stage, we end up voting for our tribesmen. And that is very unfortunate. Even when you see campus politics, most campuses are organized, they have tribal organizations. Like as for me in Chuka University, I'm a member of the Kalenjin Student Association, which is very unfortunate because we end up, it's the tribe that nominates the candidate who is going to be the flag bearer. And then communities or tribes enter into coalitions. You find the Kalenjin community coalesces with the Luo.
Campus.
Yeah.
Caucasus.
Okay.
With the Luo community and with the Kikuyu community, so that president iende kwa Wakale, vice iende kwa Wakikuyu, hivyo. So that is how they share seats. So you find that we've not even looked at the competence of that person we are giving as president. We are only supporting him because we are in one coalition with that particular tribe. So it's like we are putting the tribe to the office, such that you find that kama kiti ya president, it is first given to a tribe, so that now the tribe goes and look for that individual. So it becomes very problematic.
Okay.
And now when it translates to the national level, I usually see even in our WhatsApp groups in law school, you find somebody saying, Wamonyoro is the best person to be president. But or somebody else says Matiangi. But when you see that person is a Kisi, and he's the first person to tell you, don't support Ruto, Jueni Mukale, you are tribal. Yet he's supporting Matiangi, but he's a Kisi, and that is not tribalism on his end.
So for you, if you support the president and you're a Kalenjin,
it's tribalism. So some of these people, their understanding is that if you are a Kalenjin, for you not to be tribal, you must not support Ruto. Support somebody else.
Are there people then who don't fail to support the president for the fear that they might be viewed as tribal?
Definitely, there are those people who fear to support the president publicly, but of course, when it goes to the ballot, they will definitely vote for the president. But in order to avoid that public shaming, you just hide your political alliances. So that is the biggest thing. I think lawyers and youths who have seen the light of day should really try to carry out civic education to the people.
I want to come to you, Emmanuel, but before I come to you, I want to, how many of us are in any political party? You belong to a political party? Usiogope. Si hapa tumesema we listen, you just want to understand. Ama mnaogopa, some of you. But usemi party yako. So mtu mmoja tu peke yake ndio kwa party. 3. So the other ones tuko partyless. Okay. 3 parties. How? You are in the register of a political.
No, like unaona ile ya kufinya USSD code. Nimefinya ya ODM, nimefinya ya UDA, nimefinya hata IPRM ya Kalebamisi.
You will clarify that so that we
clarify that.
Wacha we are semi kwanza.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Tony, and I like the way the conversation is going, and I am always inclined to asking questions. I don't give my opinion, so that's what I want to do here.
Okay.
And because we talk about democracy, before the show we were speaking with Joanne and my good friend, former member of parliament, Martin Ogindo, on how the democracy works in Kenya and other countries. And I want to ask Mundalo and Okango this question. When you take the democracies in China and in Kenya, in comparison, do you think the Chinese state or way of doing things can work in Kenya in the fact that they go and elect a selected elite few to represent the whole population? Yes, that's my question. Specifically, yeah.
Thank you so much. Before we come to it, I prefer we just take the comments first and then we come to the panel.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
okay.
you. Thank you. I've heard the panelists speak. I've also heard my colleagues speak. And first, I'd really love to say something about whether democracy is really working for us or is it really working against us? Because to me, I feel that democracy, in one or the other, it works for us because from the Constitution, we have, chapter 11 of the Constitution talks about the devolved government, and we have Article 174 and 175, which promotes democracy, and it also ensures that the counties and the county governments, we must, democracy came in to bring us closer to services. And that is why we have hospitals being built. That is why, in one or the other, and we've all gained from this hospital that have been built.
True.
An example is Wamatangi is building a lot of hospitals in Kiambu County. And at the same time, we also have, as students, some of us have been brought up through bursaries, and these bursaries, we get them through the people that we elected, right? And in as much as some of us are going to say that, maybe it's only favoring the few elites and maybe some marginalized people, we also have to consider the fact that in one or the other, we are benefiting as citizens. And that is also a form of democracy. We are benefiting from it. And another thing, there's a point where Mundalo was talking about democracy being, I don't know if it was Mundalo or Ms. Joanne, when she was talking about democracy being a two-way, double sword or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'd love to put it in the context of, I feel like it is more of a gap between what is really on paper and what is happening on the ground, because on paper, we're having the Constitution, we're having the Bill of Rights. This Bill of Rights, when we try to practice them as citizens, we go out there and protest, we are being tear gassed. The same Constitution also talks about Article 81, talks about fair elections and stuff like that. And when we go there, after the elections, we have vote buying, and people also vote according to their ethnic groups, and as my colleague has said. And we should not forget the fact that in as much as democracy came in with independent institutions, whereby we have the judiciary and you also have the IEBC, right? And we all know the fact that Kenya is the only African country that nullified the election in 2017 through Justice Maraga. And we also have to say that with these independent institutions, we've also experienced police brutality, and sometimes, and that is also an institution that should be, it's an administrative body that should be reviewed in one way or the other. So I do feel that in as much as it is a blessing to us citizens, in one way or the other, these institutions are weak.
Weak institutions,
because when I'm talking about judiciary, right now people have names coming in like Juris Pesa, and there's also a name that came in, Juris Paka, and in one way or the other, we feel that, is it really acting independently or there's something else? Mwalimu, let me say this, Mwalimu talked about voting being a core principle of democracy, and also saying that some of us are saying that we went for protesting and stuff like that, and that is not a form of democracy, it is a core principle. So I'm like, does it mean that the IEBC or like the Electoral Commission is not necessarily acting independently?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for those remarks. I want to take a few insights from you guys before then I come to the panel. And therefore, I also want to throw in something as you respond. I know I'm coming to you, Farah, then to you, Candy. As you also respond, I know you guys are talking about how you're supposed to participate in the electoral process, but most of the times I hear you mention about how you're supposed to elect other people, and I'm not hearing you people talking about how you're supposed to run and maybe also get into these spaces. So why are you people shying away from these positions? Because I believe democracy is for all of us, India. Siski mtu akisema maybe these are the challenges we are facing when we try to engage in the democratic spaces. So maybe something you can also chime in as you respond.
Okay, as we all know, good governance matters than political promises. So my question, can democracy truly succeed in Africa when tribal loyalty influences elections more than competence? And the fact that
You can direct it to a specific individual.
No,
You want to
it's
hear
a
this?
general
Okay.
question. And
Please
the
repeat
and
the
the fact
question.
that the problems that we are facing, like
Repeat the question.
okay, can democracy truly succeed in Africa when tribal loyalty influences election more than competence? And as you said, the fact that what problems we face in democratically way,
Yeah.
coming from the northern part of Kenya, the thing most so people face and what makes people get unemployed and all that kind of stuff is electing leaders through clan and tribalism. And that's the thing I'm going to repeat every now and again that we face. That's the main problem that
Clanism.
So I think that's all I have to say.
Could you kindly demystify it a bit to us? Because clans, me, when I look
Okay.
at these people from Northeast, I normally assume you people are
Okay.
one.
Coming from Wajir, Wajir divides into 5 constituencies, and each constituency you see there's a clan that settles in each constituency. Like most of Wajir part, most of the Wajir land, the Dagodia clan settles. Yeah, Dagodia clan settles in Wajir, and the Dagodia has also have sub clans, where those sub clans settle to elect a leader like the governor. The current governor of Wajir, Ahmed Abdullahi, he's a Dagodia, but the way they settle, you get a sub clan has like 3 nominees who want to stand for governor. So the elders sit and agree on who to elect, and they collect some money for the other 2 that they can settle with that 5 years. So you see that problem as the youth from that county face unemployment, sometimes even not getting funds like CDF funds and all that kind of stuff. So the main problem we face is clan and tribalism.
Clanism.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You come from Wajir County?
Yeah, Wajir.
Wajir?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know whether you share the same sentiments, Jafar. You can have the mic.
So what he's saying is true. So the problem with how can I put it? So no, what I want to say, he already said it. Yeah. Kenye nataka kusema yote yashasema.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sasa ni the same thing.
Same things, Mandera. Yeah, same things. Yeah. There's no difference.
Thank you. Let's come to Kandi alafu tutaenda.
I want to direct my response to Learned Senior Okanga. I still insist that Kenya's democracy is young instead of it being developing. And the reason I'm saying that, I am making a comparison between the democratic levels of Kenya and a country like Sweden. Here in Kenya, the literacy level is extremely low. And I think that is the biggest problem that we have in terms of understanding what a democracy is, how it is meant to serve us. Whilst in a country like Sweden, the literally, I don't know the statistics, but the literacy levels are much higher. So the question becomes about application versus what is in theory. And that is why I agree with my colleague when he said that this is a systematic issue. You can say that we have institutions that are functioning. Of course, nothing can function at optimum. But at the same time, we have this issue where people do not understand how these institutions function, and so are not able to hold people or leaders of these institutions accountable. Why? Because they do not understand. So even as we're talking about, you had mentioned on, just a minute, you had talked about substantive versus procedural. Substantive, yes, you go to the poll, whatever the outcome, you had already made your decision. But when it comes to procedural, that is where the problem is, because people do not then understand that I need to hold the government accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Candy. And I know the panelists have been able to capture their questions. So is there anybody I'm leaving on this other end? Oh, let's start with you, Cheryl, and then we finish with Yegon.
Okay. Democracy in general entails this devolution stuff, right? So it's been 15 years since we introduced devolved governments, I believe, or the new constitution. But we're still seeing instances where some areas in Kenya are still marginalized. So in that instant, who are we to direct like our affairs to? Is it the government failure? Is it individuals or the constituents of those areas? Again, my second question, perhaps to the panel, when we are talking of the constitution, the rights and everything, of course, the education system has failed us in that. Not everybody is taught about their rights and that deeper if you don't pursue it on higher levels. So what are like the measures that can be put in place? Because if you just meet somebody random out there and ask them even about why they should vote or how they should vote or even their personal rights, most of them don't know. So whose duty is it to ensure that people are informed? We are told the purpose of education is to replace an empty mind with an open one. Okay. So whose duty is it going to be to help do this? Because as at now, education is even becoming more expensive. Yeah.
I think that also touches on whose role it is to conduct civic education and stuff. I think that is well captured. So yeah, yes.
So there's a question that OTB you've asked on why we the young people are not interested in these elective seats. So one of the biggest challenges that we encounter as the young people is financial difficulties, constraints, right? So you find that to run a successful member of parliament, parliamentary campaign in Kericho County, for example, where I come from Bureti constituency, you need at least 20 million Kenya shillings to facilitate your campaigns. Because let's say even if you don't dish out money, you need at least vehicles, at least 3 vehicles, one carrying a sound system, one carrying you, and the other one carrying your supporters. Thirdly, you need fuel. The other one, you need money to give out during Harambes. You cannot be given a platform.
Funerals.
Yes. And you need to make several appearances in these funerals. So you find that...
So, on average, how much do you like send for these funerals? Do you just send any amounts? Unaweza tuma 200 ama?
You know now, unaweza tuma 200 if you are the only candidate in that funeral. But you find that... let's say three candidates are in that funeral. Let's say you're vying for Senator Kericho County. You know the current senator is Aaron Cheriot, my variable senator. So you find that you are also vying against him. He has come to a Harambe or a funeral. He has given out 200,000 and you are with your 200 shillings. So the electorate will take you for a joke. Yeah, they will say you are a joker, you should go back to school, get employment, ndio upate pesa. So that is the biggest problem that we face as the young people. The other problem also is that we the young people are our own enemies. You find that when a young person stands up to run for an elective seat, the other young people talk trash them or troll them on social media, because you find that the other person competing against this young person has money. So that person excites these young people with money. So they pay bloggers to insult you. So you find that you even lose hope and lose confidence to run for that office. So those are the biggest problems that we encounter as the young people.
Do you intend to run in the coming days?
I don't intend to run in 2027, but I might consider in 2032 because I'll be having something small there.
Thank you, Egon, for that.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to something Charlene asked a question about who should do the civic education. And I really think that it's something all of us should. If, for example, let's say she's a mental health champion and she holds webinars doing mental health, sessions, then somebody else too should be able to do civic education. So it's the role of all of us to mobilize, to teach people. It's that, because that is what democracy is actually at the core. If you have freedom to speech, what are you speaking about?
Thank you. I think at that point I want to come to the panelists, and I'm happy. I like the kind of discussions we are having here, but my worry is that tukikuja kwa hizi platforms tunaongea vizuri sana, but tungekuwa huko nje tunalimana. But that is very nice and very commendable. See, umeona hata Joan mentioned it. There's a lot of grasp in terms of the knowledge of political terrain and even our constitution and our rights and all that pertains democracy. So kudos for that. Now to our panelists, I think each one of you has gotten maybe at least a question. So maybe you can use this moment to answer the Gen Zs. We'll start from you, Ms. Joan, and then we come that way.
Thank you very much. Someone asked, you asked about removal of IG from office and the Chief Justice, that how does that work? I know for the removal of the CJ, it's very well spelled out in the Constitution. JSC, you place a petition before the JSC and the process rolls over. The JSC will constitute, the president, will constitute a tribunal that now moves with the process to determine whether the CJ is culpable of removal or not. And why is this so? This is because those are officers that require dignity, and even just what you say, that it would be very difficult for lawyers and even for a judge, to start listening. Exactly. So it's a different process altogether. And for the IG as well, you place a petition before Parliament. And if Parliament feels that there's something there, then the president will just activate the process of, setting up a tribunal for the same. And it's because of how those officers are placed. And there's a law. For the IG, I think you find it in the National Police Service Act. Yes. So if you go there, you just understand the process. And I like that you're questioning those because sometimes we can be misled, and we just get onto the bandwagon. And I would also prevail upon all of us to read the law. Do not think that law is for lawyers. No. Law is for all of us. So you should take time to read the law. And maybe just to respond overall to the issue of Northeastern Province, this whole issue about negotiated democracy, because that's what it's called. And I think it doesn't just happen in your community. I see political parties practicing this. I see it in ODM. Remember, there are people who've complained that Baba used to beba mkono za watu juu. What is that? They've sat down and agreed that, what, Munyalo, wachia Joan nafasi. Joan is a woman, affirmative action, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes that is something that is done. I know the Maasai do it as well. Whether it's democracy, it's for us to determine. And for me, I ask myself, do we then need to change our electoral system? Is our electoral system as it is working, where we go and elect and the winner takes it all at party, at primaries level? Maybe we need to come up with a different electoral system. I don't know. I'm just saying. In terms of development and holding our leaders to accountability, we have a devolved system of government right now. And anybody who you went to the ballot to elect, must respond to your deficiencies. There's so much noise around President Ruto currently. We do not think that we have 48 governments in Kenya. Do you know we have 48 governments that are independent? We have the national government and the 47 county governments. And these governments are independent and interdependent. They work together. So you need to also start questioning your governor on what they are doing in respect to the county functions that you find in Schedule 4 of the Constitution. There are issues around health, agriculture. Those are devolved functions. Why aren't we questioning those? We are railroading the president to kujuna health, agriculture, food security. Yes, the national government is supposed to give general policy direction, but in terms of implementation, then we have county government doing a lot of those. So let's go back to our constitution. It's written in a very simple language that we need to understand. Sharon, you mentioned that we need, gosh, I'm answering everything. You mentioned that we need to, have public education. That is a responsibility of government. I believe that government should provide civic education, but yes, as a citizen, you also have a duty, to just educate everyone. But the responsibility lays with government to give civic education. And I know the last time when I worked at the Kenya Law Reform Commission, I know that the Office of the Attorney General has the responsibility, or even coming up with a curriculum for civic education. So, nimeongea mingi, I'm sorry. Answered everything.
So I think you've answered most of the questions, and we'll move to Mundalo. And Mundalo, as you answered in this, maybe you can also mention to us, I know you ran in Bungoma in 2022, so perhaps you can also shed some light on your experience and maybe some of the lessons that the young people who aspire in the coming days can also maybe take up.
Thank you very much. I think let me start from quite a place that might not be necessarily very popular. And one of the things I've always realized in these conversations, especially around democracy, is that they are just the same as governance, whereby we are always pointing to national government for all our problems, because we always want to point at someone else. The trouble with the democracy and the governance conversations, again, is that when you put the elite in a room, again, they also look for a boogeyman to point at. And that's why when we are seated here, most of us would always want to point at things like literacy levels and tribe. I want to come from the place that, first of all, I don't agree that there is any problem with that, because our literacy levels have kept growing. Some of us think that literacy is about university education. Our literacy levels in Kenya is actually way above 80%. So it is not any problem that we want to canvass. Number two, when we talk about matters of tribe, again, I tend to believe that it's just a place that we run to hide, so that we don't really meet the threshold of the reality of the challenges. Kenya, our literacy levels have kept growing, but our quality of leadership has not grown with the literacy levels. So I come from a place where I think that part of Kenya's problem is the elite, because you cannot tell me that way back in the 70s, the people were electing Tom Mboya, Martin Shikuku, right? Fast forward in 2022, who are you electing? Okay? So I don't want to accept that we want to make it look like there is some people somewhere who are illiterate that are derailing the country. Number two, where does tribalism start for a young person? Most of you, your tribalism started in university, because you go to the university and then you realized that for you to run for office like my brother there, you needed to assemble your Kalenjins together, so that you put them together with the Kikuyus before then put them together with the Luos and then win an election. But growing up, it's possible that you had never realized that you needed anything like that. So if the tribalism starts at the university level, then what does that show us? What does that tell us about our academia and how it's oriented? So part of the problem of this country, I argue, is actually elitism. The elite are part of the problem. When you go to even the tribes, our tribes had a form of leadership before the advent of democracy. There is a way our elders organized themselves and they had a leadership. And somehow it used to work. Now, at what point did we start having these people come together and then they give us the worst? I argue that it's when the elite became elders. When we talk about political parties, and political parties sit together and then they decide for communities leaders that are not necessarily the right people for the community. These political party leaders that Joanne talked about, that some leaders are decided at the political party. Who are the leaders of the political parties? They are the elite. So how the elite come together and then choose the most incompetent is something that we must also be able to converse and discuss. And that's why I argue that part of our problem is this elitism. And not necessarily, it is not right to always imagine that those of us who went to university are the ones who have all the right wishes for the community and the rest of the people are wrong. We must be able to interrogate that. I can assure you, most of the people in your village are not going to argue on tribe more than you are going to argue about it, yet you are the ones who are educated. Number two, I'll leave most of the other questions to Okango, who will handle. There's something about democracy that again I wanted to to talk about. Democracy assumes that all of us are intelligent. And that's why it argues that when all of us come together, we can choose the best. And those are some of the pitfalls that I feel are in this whole element of democracy. And then democracy insists that we count you more than we listen to you. Democracy is more about how many of you agree with me than what is the nature of my point and does it make sense? So that every time we want to make a decision, we are more about how many are the majority more than what is the depth of the content that is being churned out. And that becomes part and parcel of the problem. So at the end of the day, we end up counting ourselves in our numbers and not in the depth of our point, and not in the reality of can we really provide the solutions that the people need. Lastly, so that I'm not very verbose, there was something about there was something about the democracy of China. You had asked, right? About the democracy of China and Kenya. The comparison is quite heavy because in China, you realize most of the democracy is guided democracy. At the top level, they do not want to trust that the majority will just go and pick the right leader. They want to guide it. That they'll allow you to have democracy at some lower level, but at the top, no, we'll have to guide it. In China, you'll not be able to see multi-party democracy like here. They'll be able to have, is it the Communist Party?
Yeah, Communist Party of China.
And then the Communist Party of China will be able to guide the process. And most of the time, the democracy in China insists on long-term planning.
Yeah.
Okay? It insists on long-term planning. Now, the only way you can insist on long-term planning is when you are not insisting on conversations, you are insisting on progression. But our democracy in Kenya does not insist on planning, it insists on what? Conversation. That we must keep talking. That whatever the decision that comes up, we must keep talking about it. We must, and when you interrogate, even the ones who brought us the same democracy, I always argue, that go and check their system and how they govern themselves.
It's long term.
They don't govern themselves the way they force us to govern ourselves. They don't have those roadblocks the way they insist that we have all those roadblocks. Lastly, I argue that we can only settle our democracy in Kenya and anywhere by first of all insisting that we the people are the problem, not institution, not anyone, not tribe, not intellect. We the people. The moment we will ever accept to take responsibility ourselves as the people, we'll start canvassing things differently. But for as long as we keep wanting to look for someone to point a finger at, for as long as we keep wanting to be convenient thinkers so that we can blame someone and then all of us feel better about ourselves, then it will keep not working. For as long as we want that convenience thinking, it will continue being a problem. Because when we, the people, realize that we are the pinnacle and we are the people who are supposed to make the best decision, we will realize that some of the things we have given ourselves are not necessary. And I don't argue like a lawyer. I want to argue like a citizen. Because if I go and vote the right member of parliament, I'll trust that the member of parliament will represent us. And that will be enough. I'll not need them to make the decision. I elect the president. I give the president the power, right? After I elect him, I elect the member of parliament and then the MCA. And then after they make the decision, I still insist on public participation. How much did I doubt these people? Couldn't I just elect right? That's my thinking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mudalo, for that. I'm going to invite Okango. So as I invite Okango, please make sure that I'll give you maybe 30 seconds to tell us what needs to work so that what needs to change so that democracy can work. But before that, let me invite Okango.
Thank you very much. Now, there's a gentleman who asked questions on IG and the CJ. In a democratic state, there are measures, but there are also gaps. But I want to give you real examples. The IG of the police and the Chief Justice are not above the law. In fact, when they are sworn in, they take oath of office or affirmation. And as the oath, the way it is subscribed, it enables them or demands of them to respect and uphold what? The Constitution. What does the Constitution say in Article 3? All of us are obligated to defend and uphold the Constitution. So in that effect alone, they are bound by that. But number two, as John said, the National Police Act provides for the procedures of removing the IG of police based on the allegations of misconduct, or whatever it is, the same to the CJ. But I want to give you relevant examples. Forget about the IG. There are senior police officers who have been arrested in this country before. Do you remember recently the OCS Central in the case of the death of Ojwang? Remember?
Yeah.
He's still in prison, I think, up to now. And the due process was followed. I think that case is still going on. Number two, I don't know where you were in 2018. The Deputy Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Philomena Mwilu, on 18th was picked by DCI officers and presented before a court of law for allegation of some criminal elements. And luckily, or whatever the reason, that matter was quashed by the High Court. In fact, she was presented before a chief magistrate in Kilimani, Nairobi. And she is the boss of the person she's appearing before. That tells you how a democratic state gives measures in place that allow for accountability of every level, whatever the level you are in. And that's why I insist, as a growing democracy, we have done so well. We are not failing. We have done so well. The president has been stopped by court several times. I serve in one of the panels, the victim compensation, and I saw the court stop that process until recently when the Korogwe lifted it and allowed the government to comply with some orders. So it tells you that actually in a democratic state, if well planned and executed, then it can work. All we need to do as a people, because I agree with Mundalo, he says, we are the problem. So we must allow it to work. Even though we have got offices like ODPP, IPOA, these are institutions that are independent, even though interdependent with others. The commissions, we must now make them work. Secondly, there was the issue of Chinese. The democracy in China and Kenya. I just want to give you two examples. In China, they don't tolerate corruption. If you are corrupt, you are hung by the neck until you die.
Is there public participation?
In China, they have a dedicated day for all those who are arrested on account of corruption and they're in jail. The family come and visit you before you die. These are the corrupt, Your son. So now look at them. The corrupt, you see. So that it is a deterrence. That is China. And that the democracy in China is not the best, but they have managed to do certain things that is helping. But when they go to other African countries, they are the most corrupt. They buy their way into tendering processes. You know, while in their country, they can do some of those things. Anyway, story for another day. Then there's the issue of devolution. Somebody talked of devolution as an aspect of democracy that has allowed us now, particularly you talked of Article 174, 175. I believe you're talking about objects of devolution and principles. One of the things we pride ourselves in is the objects of devolved system, where communities today have got opportunity to govern themselves. The power has been decentralized in a manner that you can actually walk into a village and ask your ward rep about certain things. You walk up and get your governor. That aspect of bringing services closer to the people was an aspect of democracy, and it has worked. Today, I've gone around this country and I see construction sites. I see roads, Road A in Ward A linking Road B, and County A linking County B. The fastest way to develop a democratic state is to enhance devolution and ensure that it is you start with the smallest unit, the ward, to ensure that it is the fastest unit of devolved system. Where if you develop a ward, every MCA you develop your ward, you shall have developed a county. Imagine all the 47 governors we shall have developed this country. But because we have devolved corruption, we are not able to. You walk into the villages, you find the MCA has got 3 bodyguards, a PA who has a PA. And they drive around in the village like you should, with siren, wait. Who are these people in a democratic state? Who are these people? In other countries, a minister or a prime minister will cycle to the office. While in this country, an MCA will drive on the wrong side of the road with a siren, and there's nothing you can do about it because we are a democratic state. You know? Let me wind up by saying, we talked about marginalization. I mean, I must give it to President RUTO. The reason why, in fact, with the advent of devolution, we cannot talk about marginalized communities. Devolution ended the aspect of marginalization. But remember, we have got marginalized groups. The youth, you people, Article 100, the ethnic minority, the women, people with disability are still marginalized. But the government of the day, through the Constitution, has enhanced what is called equalization fund, of which that account, 1.5% of the national revenue collected by the government goes into that. What is the function of that? To ensure that it brings those regions that are considered marginalized at par with other areas in terms of roads, electricity, water, health, and many other. But it has a sunset period. After 20 days, after 20 years, we are expected to be equal. Let me finish by saying, you go to some regions in this country, the goats sleep on a tarmac road, there are no cars. Because those roads were tarmacked long way before the new constitution, and because resources followed power. They are the advantage of having the president for that time, and the resources all went there. But with the advent of devolution, I can dare tell you, we should not be talking about marginalization today. But the reason why it is still there, because read Auditor General report. The 47 governors are thieves in equal measure, because the Auditor General report is the only legal report that shall reveal how public money has been used efficiently or effectively. The members of parliament have refused to take action. I long to see a day in court when the audit report shall be used as the first piece of evidence to nail some of these thieves in the name of governance. I submit.
Thank you so much, Okango, for that. Cindy, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to our panelists. They have done justice to the topic, Cindy. So I think that is a good place to end it, unless maybe it gonna, I would give probably maybe just 30 seconds for what you think should be changed now for democracy. 30 seconds take care, and then they will have the parting shots to Maliza. Cindy, thank you so much for your patience. We can start from you, Sharon. To Iva Rakaraka, to what do you think needs to change for democracy to work?
Standards. There is something that he said that in China, they will not be corrupt. In their own country, they will not be corrupt. Like if they come in African countries, they work according to your standards. That's why even in relationships, a man will buy another lady flowers but huyu hawezi mnunulia, sasa atambaya wa nini? Na ni venye amejieka. So we have normalized corruption, and when they come they deal with us according to our own standards.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's at the core of us. We are almost like 99% of Kenyans, we are corrupt.
Very corrupt. Standards, eh? Let's move to Yegon.
For me, I'll only have two things. The first one is civic education. When we educate our young people in the villages to understand the reason as to why they vote, that would change democracy to work to some certain percentage. The second one is institutional reforms. When we reform, and as Mr. Fred has said, we ensure that these independent commissions work. For instance, the National Commission on Administration of Justice, it is just a toothless dog. It needs to be acted upon so that it works for the interests of the people.
Thank you so much, Egon. Civic education, reforms in institutional reforms. Sante. Wakili?
Thank you. My parting shot would be the fact that with democracy, we have the ballot, but we don't have the trust. We have the constitution, but we don't have the culture. And I also believe that whatever is written on paper, it is beautifully crafted, but then we have ugly results. You know? So, and I do feel like the problem is not democracy. Democracy in itself is not a curse, but we as people, you know, as Mundalo said, the problem is us, you know, and also Chantal Moffat once said in her text that we see democracy as a problem that we as citizens, we're striving to reach, but we cannot reach it. It doesn't exist. So in other words, what I can say is that we really need to have strong institutions and strong enforcement of this public institution, and maybe we can demand for some judicial reviews with the administrative bodies.
Sante.
Thank you.
Powerful. Sherry?
I think also democracy is not the problem. The people are the problem. And we should strive to move from a point where electoral democracy stops after election. It should be a continuous process until the end of a term. That person should be held accountable from day one until the last day they vacate the office. Equally, us as a people, we should be more open to agendas that drive development, not just popularity or all those groupings we cocoon ourselves into.
Splendid. Jemo?
Yes, thank you. As I said when I began earlier, the work of building a nation is continuous. We cannot, as a country, we don't have the latitude or the comfort of sitting and saying, as a growing democracy, we've built ourselves enough. We need to have a lot of reforms, especially institutional reforms. And but at the very core of it all is we as the people. We really need to look deeper as people, so that when we make decisions especially as the electorate during the election cycle, we need to make decisions based on policies, and people need to have knowledge about what they're doing. And also as a culture, as a Kenyan culture, we the people also need to have a culture of transparency, because generally people, Kenyans are people that are fallen short of integrity in many ways. So if we look, because vile unajua mse, or rather how you know yourself on some things is how you see others.
30 seconds.
Yes, yes, I'm finishing on that. So we really need to look deeper as a society first, so that our decisions now, even at the ballot, are informed by we being persons of integrity and being people that are transparent.
Integrity, transparency, Sante.
So for me, first we have to end tribal politics. So we should vote according to, we should vote based on competence and integrity, policies and all those stuffs. National unity must come before ethnic loyalty. The other thing, negativity on tribes. Like during election 2022, I have seen a video, someone saying sijui yuko Central, mtoto akikataa kukula anaambiwa sijui na kuitia Raila sijui nini. Alafu again I have seen a video, someone saying there is no day that someone start nini jina yake inaanza na O coming to rule this nation, vitu kama hizo.
Thank you so much, Jafar. Umesema mtoto amekataa kukula.
Yes, Farah. That's a shame.
Same on his point, but I will add something. In many ways, that what we can change in democracy is building institutions and also coming up with ways that we can settle and sit with people. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Farah. Candy.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds.
Viva. I think that deserves a viva. Thank you so much. Alafu, Emmanuel?
I think I'll talk after the panelists.
Okay, so. Panelists, your parting shots in 1 minute, you tumesha nini sana, si ndio? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just grateful that we can be able to have this intergenerational conversation. I'm a Gen X. Candy is my daughter, by the way, so you can tell how old I am. I'm just happy that we can have this intergenerational conversation. And for me, institutions are about people. As institutions are about people, you've confirmed that, then we need to look at ourselves. Like Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror. Look at the man in the mirror all the time and ask him what is it that he can change. And to cap it all, JFK asked, ask yourself not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Thank you.
Asante sana. Ngalo?
Yeah, after such a powerful quote, one wonders what they are supposed to say. But maybe what I'll just say is that democracy just opens up for us to really see who exactly we are. Gives us a blank check, then we fill it in. We decide our institutions, we decide our everything. And that's why I insist that democracy in itself is not the ultimate problem. We, the people, what we fill into it is then the problem. And that's why, and there is someone who talked about civic education, that we need a lot of civic education. I always stand from the other side and argue that the people of Kenya, I've just told you, are 80% literacy level. If our civic education was low, then we would not even know what to complain about after we vote. Ask yourself, how come we vote wrong? At that time, our civic education is low. Then immediately after we vote, we want the right leadership. We know what we want. How then do we know what we want? All our problems start and end with we the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mundalo. Kangu?
Thank you so much. I appreciate. Raila Amolo Odinga would have wished to have what is called the conclave, the intergeneration conversation. On 7th July last year, before he died, this was one of the things that we were launching at Serena. And I wish this is sustained in majority of the area so that the young people can engage. I really appreciate listening to young people. And the young people have opportunity in a democratic state. You have opportunity to put your leaders to account. You have opportunity to participate in how you are governed. You have opportunity to enjoy the benefits of leadership. And you have opportunity to participate in election. I would want to encourage all of you, go out for those who want, because it's your democratic right, and seek political office so that you get the feel of being in office and how to govern, so that you get the feel of being criticized and how to respond to criticism. I submit.
Thank you so much, Okwango. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much. My name is Tony Bilao Nyango. That has been Face to Face with the Gen Z. I'll allow Emmanuel now to close for us.
Thank you so much, Tony. A round of applause for the young generation in the house. I want to take this opportunity to appreciate our panelist, Madame Joanne. A round of applause for her. A round of applause for Mr. Advice Mundalo for giving us very good advice. A round of applause for Mr. Okango here. And Mr. Odoyo within absentia. We can do better than that, eh? And of course, my co-host, Tony Blair. Thank you so much. And of course, I want to appreciate the technical team led by Mr. Wycliffe Nyagol there. Round of applause for him. And Mr. Duncan Oduor Jamal. We can do better than that, please, eh? And we have Errol Brand there in our camera. And of course, Mrs. Faith Akoth here. Well, that has been face-to-face with the Gen Z. We have been talking about democratic and democratic institutions, especially a Kenyan case study. And this conversation is not stopping here. It continues in our social media platforms at X Red Ring Media and Facebook Red Ring Media. Until next time, be sure to tune in every Saturday for this kind of powerful conversation where we bring together the young generation and experts so that we can get the nexus in between. Until next time,